Hi guys. So today's scandal is on the cartoon character Betty Boop. It was a very popular cartoon in the 1930s and 40s, and they still have little shorts that they show sometimes. So you probably have seen her before, but this scandal has to do with the real life inspiration behind Betty Boop. So Max Fleischer was the cartoonist who originally created this character, but it was based on an actress that I guess a vaudeville sort of act that he had seen, and the original character wasn't even a human. It was a poodle who I guess had some sort of anamorphic ability and then became a female. I haven't actually seen that particular cartoon, but I might have to at this point. But there was a little bit of a scandal because the actress that he thought that he was designing this character around the look, she had actually stolen her entire act from somebody else, and this all came to light in a lawsuit. It actually never would have come to light if the lawsuit had never gone in, but this is the scandalous story of fraud behind the real-life inspiration for Betty Boop, so let's begin. Okay, while most cartoons are meant for children, there are some that hold a place in our hearts long after we have grown up. These characters have impacted us in such a way that they've helped us to become who we are. Bugs Bunny is a perfect example of the kind of character who you can't help but adore. Another example, the infamous and sultry baby-voiced Betty Boop. However, did you know that a giant scandal lurks behind your favorite doe-eyed cartoon character? Wait until you hear about the lawsuit that almost destroyed her. When you think of women who inspired the famous cartoon character Betty Boop, you probably think of the actress and singer Helen Kane. However, there's another woman whose work directly informed almost everything about this legendary character. So this is an image of the African-American singer from the 1920s named Baby Esther. And there's really only this one photograph of her that comes up even to this day, but she was a very popular singer in the 1920s. Her name was Esther Jones, and she was known on stage as Baby Esther. She earned this nickname from her baby voice style of singing. She was very much in demand and a regular performer in Harlem's famous Cotton Club. So here's a little gif of Betty Boop. I'm not sure if she was colored a little darker to just show that she was in the sun or something like that, or if this was done in reference to Baby Esther or not, but in any case. One of Baby Esther's catchphrases was boop, oop, a doop, which would later be adopted by the cartoon character Betty Boop. Even though Baby Esther definitely inspired the creation of the character, no one publicly acknowledged it, and actress Helen Kane decided to take advantage of this, letting everyone know that she and not Baby Esther was the inspiration. So this is actress Helen Kane. Now, obviously, when you look at her, you can see that she has the Betty Boop look, but she didn't originally have this look. She was actually copying Baby Esther, and then Betty Boop was designed based on her, on this Kane woman, but Kane's act was stolen. How did this happen? Boop's creator, Max Fleischer, initially drew Betty Boop as a caricature of Helen Kane, this is one of the early films of Betty Boop, and Max Fleischer's other character is called Bimbo, which was a sort of spoof on Mickey Mouse. Bimbo has a really great cartoon that was, it's kind of obscure. If I find it, I'll post it in here somewhere. Um, it's a great, it should actually be part of my Illuminati series, because basically he was saying that Walt Disney became so much more famous than Fleischer was able to, because he had joined this kind of cult which was promoting him, and in essence Disney had joined the Moles. It was side organization of the Freemasons, and so he was a member. But Fleischer, by making this Bimbo character, basically was saying that Mickey Mouse, or the fame that Disney achieved and all of the other things that he achieved, was actually through this organization and his joining of this group. So that's a really good cartoon. I can't remember the name right now, but anyway. So Fleischer definitely, when he was making cartoons, I guess he was also paying attention to what was going on in society, and I think what he was doing was, although these were sort of for kids, they also had an adult element, and he was making a commentary on the society and culture that he lived in. Betty Boop made her first appearance in 1930 in the Dizzy Dish cartoons, not as a woman, but as a talking French poodle. It wasn't until 1932 that her long, floppy ears were transformed into hoop earrings. So I guess this was one of the first cartoons that she was in, so the look sort of changed. And she was a little bigger, and so was Helen Kane. I don't know if they'll show some images of her. When Helen Kane saw Betty Boop, she took immediate action. She filed a $250,000 infringement lawsuit against Max Fleischer for taking her likeness and using it without her express permission or paid consent. Boop versus Boop. So you can see here Helen Kane really trying to make herself look like the cartoon character to prove her point, but she was also heavier, and you can see that in the original cartoon. Let's see, I don't know if I can yeah, it's a little hard to read that. It's a little small print. But anyway, that was like a newspaper clipping from the lawsuit. When the trial finally made its way into the courts, the identity of Betty Boop's true inspiration was finally revealed. It came to light that Helen Kane had seen Baby Esther perform I Want to Be Loved by You, where she used her infamous boop scatting technique, something Kane started copying just 1 week later. So, if you recall, Betty Boop's, she sort of had a nightclub act. So, although Fleischer was using Kane as his, inspiration for this character, because he had probably seen Kane in her vaudeville acts, Kane was stealing everything from this other person who was not being recognized because she was performing in Harlem and was African American, and so it was an interesting situation. Her manager used to take Kane to these nightclubs, sort of, it was, I guess, scandalous even just to go, a white woman going into these African American clubs, but this was, he would sneak her in and they would watch Baby Esther's act, and then basically Kane would steal everything and nobody knew the wiser, because it was almost as if those two worlds didn't intersect that much. So, you could have people be in the same city, everyone was in New York, but uh, these worlds were not intersecting in terms of the population, so she was getting away with this. Sadly, by the time the trial actually started, baby Esther had already passed away. However, Helen Kane's career was in the decline in a serious way, and having her name in the headlines, even in a legal matter, could only help her career. So here she is again, I guess in her younger days. The trial actually went on for 2 whole years, and it didn't seem to be going anywhere. That was until Max Fleischer was able to find footage of baby Esther singing in the original Boop style. Her legacy was restored, and Helen Kane's lawsuit was effectively over. The Boop song is traced. Witness in Helen Kane's suit says Negro Girl originated the style. The judge in the case denied Kane's suit, saying that the plaintiff has failed to sustain either cause of action by proof of sufficient probative force. He also mentioned that lots of other people shared Boop's look, including actress Clara Bow. So you can see even Clara Bow had this kind of doe-eyed and thin eyebrows and this very similar sort of look. So it was a common look in the 1920s, A lot of the flappers had this look anyway. Few at last the truth about the original inspiration for Betty Boop was revealed in the end. It just goes to show you that lying for attention will only cause you shame and embarrassment at the end of the day. So that's all, folks. Who knew that the frivolous lawsuit could help reveal the truth about such a cartoon icon? Thank goodness the true inspiration for the character was finally revealed. Okay, so it was kind of a short excerpt. I just thought it was kind of interesting how this particular actress was willing to, she had a very different act initially. She was, I can't say that she had anything specific that she was doing. It was basically whatever was popular at the time. But baby Esther, the African American singer, was doing something very different. She would sing in this baby voice, and this particular scat style that had become popular in the 1920s was taught to her by, I don't know if it was her manager or who it was, but they both designed this boop boop a doop thing that she would add to the end of her songs. And it was like, her signature at that point. But because those two worlds never collided, what was happening on the vaudeville stage with primarily white audiences and what was happening in Harlem were worlds apart. And so somebody like this, Helen Kane, could go see an entire act, learn it, copy the look. She copied her hairstyle because she didn't have this, that kind of flicked out hairstyle or anything. She copied her hairstyle and then this baby voice business. And then this boop boop a doop she started right after she saw baby Esther. And truthfully, there never would have been any way to acknowledge that baby Esther had been the originator, except there was a single recording that her manager had made of her from, I guess, the Cotton Club. I'm not really sure. It was from one performance where she did the boop boop doop, and it was done prior to this Helen Kane ever coming, into the public with it. And that was what Max Fleischer was able to locate and show in court. So his issue, I don't think, was necessarily to restore the good name of baby Esther, but really to get this $250,000 I don't know that it was a defamation lawsuit. It was a lawsuit that her caricature had been used against her will, but in actuality, I think she was kind of happy about it. The only way that she found out about it was a photo saw that and then based her lawsuit right after that. Just because of that photo, she wouldn't have even known she wasn't watching cartoons either. But, Fleischer did admit that he had probably seen her act as well as other acts. Everyone was kind of looking like that. It was like a popular look. So she was an amalgam of the different things that he had seen. But, the fact that he specifically was using the boop-boop-a-doop thing, and, I think he was very specifically using her, I guess without permission. What he just didn't know was she had stolen everything from somebody else. So if she had not put this lawsuit through, nobody would have ever known about Baby Esther and her contributions to this character, because essentially Betty Boop is Baby Esther. It's not Helen Kane. Helen Kane is the copycat of Baby Esther. But then again, Betty Boop is drawn as a white dancer. I don't know that, or vaudeville act. I'm not sure, or singer. I'm not sure what her career was. She was always sort of in a nightclub scene, if I recall. But anyway, they would have never had her as an African American anyway. They would have still made it into a white character. But it's good that at least Baby Esther's contribution was acknowledged, because it was the original. And Helen Kane Helen Kane just, I guess, wanted money at the sort of tail end of her career and thought this was a good opportunity, but it didn't really work out that way. I think that by the judge even adding that Clara Bow and all of these other people looked the same way, I think it sort of added to the fact that, she was not the primary person for this, that it was a common look in the 1920s. So anyway, and Betty Boop was kind of an interesting character. I mean, Max Fleischer, the way that he used to make cartoons, they had a lot of social implications that, if you look at them again, he is trying to say things that I don't think he could probably say in any other format, and it probably goes over the heads of kids. But this isn't, I can't really say that Betty Boop's necessarily a kid cartoon. I mean, she's wearing these really, shorts, and her legs are out. She's kind of a booby character, and working in a nightclub, and there are all kinds of things. If you look at the old Max Fleischer cartoons, a lot of them have a lot of social references. Like, I remember there was this one where Betty Boop wanted to go on a date, and she had like a Jewish father who was obviously, Jewish with his entire look, and that was something revolutionary. Nobody ever had that in a cartoon necessarily, that signified that Boop was actually Jewish. It's just interesting things with this particular cartoon. They had a lot of he had a lot of other information I think he was trying to relay through his cartoons, and through that particular character I mentioned before, Bimbo. Bimbo was this, I guess a version of Mickey Mouse, or trying to make fun of Mickey Mouse. He was basically saying that Disney and Mickey Mouse had taken their talent and had been used by this particular group or cult or whatever they had joined, and basically prostituted themselves. So I guess Max Fleischer thought of himself as more of an artist who had stuck to his original, whatever his beliefs were, morals were, and that Disney had sold out was basically his point. And obviously Disney made a lot more money with not only his cartoons, but then the theme parks, and then just the name in general. It is maintained in a way that Fleischer's characters sort of got stuck in the era. They were very popular at the time, but they just kind of got stuck in that era, and you'll as classic cartoons, but they never had the longevity of the Disney stuff. And I can't really say that that's just because Disney was involved with, whatever, some sort of a organization behind the scenes and was promoting all of these things. There are a lot of, issues with Disney that people have noticed over the years that are a bit suspicious. But at the same time, I think where Disney was able to maintain the longevity was really because he focused on creating characters for children, whereas the Fleischer characters and his commentary was kind of geared towards adults, so it doesn't have the same kind of lasting power. Disney then marketed himself in a very different way that Fleischer never really was able to do, even though, all of those characters that he made did have a social impact. They just did not have the kind of memorable effect that I think the Disney characters were able to, and just Disney expanded in such a bombastic way that no cartoonist, nobody can compare to it even today. It's something that's pretty impressive, and yes, there may be some other aspects to it that are behind the scenes in the early part of his career that sort of helped to fund and push those visions forward, but he still had a much more expansive view, and his focus was on this kid version of these characters. I don't know, at the time when Disney was trying to make a lot of social commentary, those cartoons, the ones that he, like Fantasia and things like that, they were not very popular with kids, and I think he quickly realized that he had to stick to, his original format. There are a lot of other issues with Disney, though, that people have once you start investigating it. There are a lot of occult references, there are a lot of sexual things that are bizarre, that seem to be drawn into some of these cartoons. I don't know what that is all about, and what is that influence from, because these are different cartoonists over the decades doing these bizarre things, but they seem to be in so many Disney cartoons, like these inside, very adult, sexually oriented jokes, that people have become suspicious as to what is going on truthfully behind the Disney thing. But I think the overt marketing, because of the way that it was done, just obviously made him more popular. There may be some sinister stuff behind it, though, too, and that might be what Fleischer was insinuating. I don't know if Fleischer understood how deep it went, but it's possible if you watch that Bimbo cartoon, the one where he goes, I think it was something like Bimbo's Underground Journey or something like that. This character, Bimbo, goes into this, like, underground chute and somehow lands in this bunker where there is a cult that is forcing him to join them, and they try various methods to get him to join. They bring girls out, they bring this and that out, and finally he joins. Even though he fought it for a little while, he finally joins, and then all of his dreams come true, kind of a thing, which is basically he's saying that Disney joined this cult, and then he was able to become very popular. But anyway, this was I guess kind of a short one, but this was I guess it wasn't that scandalous. It was just sort of interesting. I don't know how else, without this lawsuit, how else Baby Esther ever would have been acknowledged, because Max Fleischer didn't know it was Baby Esther behind Betty Boop. So, his thing sort of happened for a reason, even though Kane's lawsuit was sort of done just to get money or whatever her reasoning was behind it. It worked out that the originator of these, of the catchphrases and the look and all of that did come to light. older cartoons. It is kind of an interesting social commentary on what was going on. I think I probably have like a DVD set, not specifically of Betty Boop, but it's like of all of these old cartoons. It was like maybe $5 at Walmart or something like that. I think it says 500 cartoons or whatever, and I'm pretty sure there's one DVD that has a whole set of Betty Boop, so if I find it, I'll probably have to take a look. Okay, guys, so I hope you have a good night, and I will talk to you again next